You know how the world has a way of slipping little miracles into the cracks of your everyday grind? I wasn't hunting for any that balmy Thursday, just shuffling through the humdrum like always. One of those days where you grab what you need from the corner market and head home, autopilot engaged, no fanfare required. But here's the twist life loves to pull. It often whispers its magic in the hush of the mundane. And who would have guessed that a quick haul from the store would nudge my world ever so slightly off its axis? Before I dive deeper, I'm dying to know, where are you tuning in from tonight? Some bustling city street or a quiet porch swing in the sticks? Spill it in the comments. It's wild how these tales weave us all together, no matter the miles. It was pushing 4 o'clock when I eased my creaky sedan into the gravel lot behind my place, the back seat sagging under sacks of staples that felt like they were plotting against me. Blame the sticky humidity clinging to the air, or chalk it up to turning 64 last spring, but lugging those up the weathered porch stairs, it loomed like a minor siege. I'd barely flicked the latch on the trunk when a familiar baritone cut through the cicada chorus behind me. "Hey, Ms. Harlan, want me to grab those for you?" I pivoted, and there stood Lucas, the kid from next door. Well, not a kid anymore, pushing 28 with that lanky build honed from weekend hikes and a job that kept him outdoors. I'd seen him evolve from the scrawny teen wrestling with his folks' push mower to this grounded guy who moved like he owned the breeze. He sported a faded gray tank top that hinted at the lean muscle beneath. His dark curls windswept as if he'd just chased the afternoon gusts. No need. "Lucas, really?" I waved him off, but my tone betrayed the gratitude bubbling up. He was already hoisting the top bag, muscles flexing easy under the load. "These puppies weigh a ton. Lead the way." His stride was all calm rhythm, no frenzy, no fumbling. Just this effortless poise that made the chore feel shared, not endured. We navigated the flagstone path side by side, and a whiff of sun-warmed cotton and faint citrus cologne drifted my way, crisp and unassuming. It's funny how proximity uncovers those details, the ones that make a person feel vividly, vulnerably real. I shouldered the screen door aside once inside, letting the fan's lazy whirl greet us with a sigh of relief. Late-day rays slanted through the lace curtains, gilding the oak planks and amber pools that swirled with lazy motes. He trailed me to the galley kitchen, easing the sacks onto the butcher block with the care of someone handling heirlooms. "Appreciate it more than you know," I murmured, fishing out a jug of orange juice and nestling it into the fridge's chill. "I swear that market's aisles multiply when I'm not looking." He flashed a crooked grin, leaning against the counter. "Looks like you're prepping for a blockade. Big family reunion on the horizon, or just treating yourself?" I chuckled, the sound lighter than I'd felt all week. "Who knows? Hunger strikes without warning around here." The room hushed then, save for the crinkle of bags as I unpacked. He lingered nearby, his vibe a gentle anchor, not crowding but anchoring the space all the same. Fishing for the last sack, our knuckles grazed. Not a fleeting snag, but a deliberate pause where time stretched thin. His skin was sun-kissed warm against mine, unyielding yet kind. In that suspended beat, an invisible current hummed between us, wordless, weightless, but potent enough to stir the dustiest corners of my chest. I glanced up. His gaze held mine, steady and unguarded, like he was peering past the silver in my hair, the lines etched by decades, straight to the pulse beneath. The spell cracked as I eased my hand free, a soft cough to bridge the quiet. "Thanks a million, Lucas. You're a lifesaver." His nod was slow, eyes tracing mine a heartbeat longer. "Happy to. Door's always open." He slipped out, and I lingered amid the scatter of cans and produce, palms tingling with the echo of that brush. It wasn't fireworks or forbidden glances, no, it was humbler, a spark of being truly beheld amid the ordinary. Romance? Hardly the word. More like a nudge from the universe, reminding me that threads of kinship can tangle up unannounced. I shook it off, diving into supper, a modest stir-fry with veggies from the hall, and the evening's tidy up. Yet stray thoughts kept circling back, like fireflies refusing the dark. Curled under the quilt that night, ceiling fan blades slicing the shadows, I pondered why such a whisper of a thing clung so. Maybe my days had blurred into a monochrome routine, widowed these 5 years, kids scattered to their own orbits. That fleeting warmth? It unearthed a flicker I'd assumed long banked, No clue if it'd fan into flame or fade to memory, but it'd echo, that much was clear. The week unspooled in its familiar cadence. Dawn brew on the stoop, coaxing basil in time from my backyard plot, sinking into novels as noonlight prismed through the bay window's panes, pages flipped, but focus frayed, looping to that kitchen tableau, the subtle heat of his grip replaying like a half-remembered melody. I chided myself. Mere neighborly courtesy, nothing to dissect. Still, an undercurrent tugged at my steps, a quiet vigilance for... what? I couldn't pin it. Come Sunday, I ambled back from the seaside co-op, canvas tote brimming with sun-ripened plums, heirloom carrots, and a wheel of sourdough that crackled under my arm. The breeze off the inlet carried salt and pine, that cusp of autumn haze where gulls wheeled lazy overhead. Gravel crunched underfoot midway to the house when his footfalls synced with mine. Fresh haul from the docks? Lucas's timbre rolled easy, teasing the edge of a laugh. I wheeled around. He jogged up in board shorts and a worn snapback, cheeks ruddy from what smelled like an ocean swim, that disarming half-smile pulling me in. Seems I'm cursed to need a porter every outing, I quipped, jostling the tote for emphasis. He closed the gap, claiming the load with a wink. Call it my cardio. Our tips of fingers danced in the handover, swift but electric, reigniting that subtle hum from days prior. We ambled porchward, strides sinking without effort. He prodded about the co-op's quirks, and I spilled more than usual, the old fisher who bartered stories for extra fillets, my ritual of roasting those carrots till they caramelized sweet. Gotta snag an invite next time you whip those up, he said, sidelong glance sparkling mischief. Play your cards right, and maybe, I shot back, feigning nonchalance while a grin betrayed me. In the kitchen, I parked the bread amid the herb's earthy perfume as he unpacked with methodical grace. Dusk's glow flooded the room, bathing counters in honeyed light, the air thick with unspoken ease. Passing the plums, our hands converged again, intentional now. I sensed, a featherlight hold laced with intent. We held the pose, breath sinking to the tick of the wall clock. No urgency tainted it, just a burgeoning clarity, his eyes mapping my face with a reverence that stripped years away. I claimed the fruit at last, settling it in a ceramic bowl, voice hushed. "Owe you one, Lucas. Again." His reply was velvet low. Count on it. Wouldn't miss these detours. He didn't dawdle post that, just a lingering wave from the threshold. But as his silhouette blurred into twilight, that backward peek he tossed over his shoulder, it kindled a glow low in my belly, deeper than mere thanks. Later, pitting plums for a cobbler, knife slicing steady through juicy flesh, I caught my reflection in the window glass, lips curved unbidden. Life's sly alchemy, I mused, not thunderclaps of change, but these incremental tilts that refract your inner lens. Was this a prelude to more, or a solitary bloom in my solitary garden? Either way, anticipation thrummed, sweeter than I'd let on. 3 dawns hence, the skies brooded. Morn had dawned crystalline, but by tea-time, clouds bellied low, bruising indigo, the prelude scent of ozone heavy as a held breath. I was in the den, matching socks to a violin sonata's mournful lilt on the old radio, when thunder grumbled its warning. Then the deluge hit, torrents lashing panes, rivulets racing eaves like frantic secrets. Storms like these animate a home, don't they? Every creak amplifies, every draft whispers confidences. Midway to brewing chamomile, a rap echoed firm over the gale. Cracking the door, I found Lucas, shirt speckled dark, locks slicked back, clutching a sodden envelope. "Evening," he called, undimmed by the squall. "This blew onto your stoop on my way in. Didn't want it turning to pulp." I ushered him across the threshold, wind snatching at the frame. "You could have waited it out, you fool." A shrug, sheepish yet sunny. Felt wrong abandoning it to the flood. I claimed the mail, spotting the damp patches blooming on his collar. "You're drenched." "Park it here. I'll fetch a dish towel." Returning, I found him at the French doors, tracing rain's erratic paths down the leaded glass. I pressed the linen into his palm. He tousled his mop, then slung it round his neck like a scarf. "Caught us off guard, this one," he noted, turning with a half laugh. We migrated to the kitchen, where the range's blue flame coaxed the kettle's sigh. I steeped 2 mugs, steam curling with bergamot's soothing balm, the storm's percussion cocooning us in velvet hush. We claimed stools at the island, palms cradling porcelain, steam veiling our faces. Talk flowed unforced, meandering trails. His gig restoring kayaks at the marina. My plots of lavender edging toward neglect. The peculiar warp of hours as calendars yellow. Midway, lunging for the sugar tin simultaneous, our hands collided once more. Habit now, these tactile bridges, but here, we savored the overlap, his thumb grazing my knuckle with quiet convicti. On. Meeting his stare, I found no haste. No demand. Just that profound, patient regard, as if he'd mapped my contours anew. The world funneled to that nexus. Lamplight's amber halo, rain's relentless tattoo, the hearth-like heat radiating from our perch. Reluctantly, I withdrew, a twinge shadowing the retreat. Braving the tempest for junk mail? Heroic, if daft. His lips quirked, earnest beneath. Worth every drop. Like I keep saying, any time. The downpour detained us, spinning yarns till the patter softened to a murmur. That interlude? It forged a sanctuary, errands and obligations suspended in the aqueous veil. When clouds parted at last, parting carried a reluctance, his parting nod laced with promise. The house exhaled into stillness post-departure, echoes too resonant, voids too stark. From the casement, I tracked his path across the slick lawn, puddles mirroring fractured stars, and clarity dawned. No longer passive encounters, but ones I craved with a quiet ferocity. Post-storm days bathed the world in diffused glow. Atmospheres languid and laced with petrichor. Internally, a seam had parted, some latent portal creaking ajar, admitting light I'd forgotten the shape of. 10 sunrises blurred by before Lucas reappeared. I'd been kneeling in the gloaming yard, fingers soil-kissed from pruning mint, sunset's crimson fingers elongating fronds across dew-damp turf. His voice ambushed from the picket divide. Any chance that plum cobbler's up for sharing? Been dreaming of it since you mentioned. Whirling, I spied him propped on the rail, posture loose, gaze alight with that familiar furnace-soft gleam. Laughter bubbled free. Bold assumption, but step in. Let's see if it measures up. The scullery enveloped us in cinnamon-laced allure, the lattice crust cooling on a wire rack like a golden promise. I doled out wedges plump with fruit, iced lemongrass tea fizzing in tumblers etched with sea motifs. We hunkered at the scarred pine table, vesper beams threading the shears, gilding forks and faces alike. He forked a morsel, lids fluttering shut, a hum of approval escaping. Heaven, straight up. And somehow that verdict landed less on the pastry, more on the alchemy of us sharing it. Chatter meandered as ever. Ephemera elevated, the heron's rookery down by the cove. His latest paddleboard mishap involving a rogue current. My penchant for sketching shorebirds in charcoal smudges. Silences bloomed unstrained, punctuated by the distant lap of waves against pilings, crickets tuning up their nocturne. Refilling his glass, his palm eclipsed mine. Not novelty, but evolution, a firm yet tender clasp conveying volumes. Grateful, he breathed, the word a bridge. I arched a brow, pulse quickening under his hold. For the dessert, or the interrogation? A light shake of his head, clasp enduring. For the space, for you letting me fill it. Words evaporated then. I didn't retreat. We anchored there, optics locked in the sepia's embrace. Twilight's hush wrapping us like a shawl woven from forgotten dreams. No declarations, no crescendos, just presence, profound and unadorned. Rising at length, he mirrored his arrival's ease, but threshold bound, he halted, pivoting with intent. Soon, yeah? Count on it, I echoed, the vow settling bone deep. Solitude reclaimed the room post-exit, but it hummed now, resonant rather than hollow. Reflecting on the genesis, a sack of sundries up a stoop, blossoming into this unnamed tapestry, I marveled. Not the scripted swoons of silver screens, but visceral tethering, the sort that honors the wholeness of souls. At my age, such vignettes felt archived relics, yet perhaps the truest revelation. Vitality's fount doesn't seal with the years. A graze, a gaze, A communion over fruit-flecked crumb can reaffirm your place in the tapestry. Vital, visible, alive. That eve, extinguishing the pendant lamp, I leaned into the uncertainty, pulse attuned to tomorrow's cadence. Even banal sunrises held potential now, portals to the sublime disguised as routine. But life, ever the storyteller, wasn't done weaving. A fortnight later, autumn's first crisp nipped the air, leaves pirouetting in russet confetti across the lane. I'd taken to morning constitutionals along the bluff trail, thermos of black coffee in hand, the ocean's vast murmur a balm for restless nights. Lucas fell into step one fog-laced dawn, thermos mirroring mine, as if scripted by the mist. Mind company? He ventured, breath clouding the chill. Only if you don't mind my scenic detours, I countered, falling into rhythm beside him. The path wound salt-stubbled dunes, waves gnashing foam below, gulls keening their ancient litanies. We traded silences and snippets, his boyhood crabbing escapades, my solitary voyages to the lighthouse keeper's old haunt. At a weathered bench overlooking the tide's retreat, we paused, shoulders brushing in the offshore gale. "You know," he said, eyes on the horizon's bruise, "these walks of yours, they've become the highlight I didn't know I needed." His hand found mine then, not tentative but assured, fingers interlacing with a naturalness that stole my breath. The contact grounded me amid the wind's howl, a harbor in the flux. I squeezed back, voice steady over the surf's roar. Funny how paths converge when you least orchestrate them. We lingered till the sun breached the bank, burnishing the swell's gold. No grand avowals, just the quiet forging of something enduring, born of increments. Back home, over mugs of broth-thick chowder simmered with clams from his last haul, we plotted a joint ramble to the tidal pools at low ebb. Laughter laced the steam, plans unfurling like kelp in the current. As seasons wheeled, winters mild with hearthside yarns, springs riotous with wildflower hunts, our orbits tightened, not in possession but partnership. Dinners stretched to starlit porches, confessions traded over hearth glow, regrets aired like laundry in the breeze, dreams dusted off and burnished anew. His touch evolved from sparks to steady flame, mine from surprise to seeking. Neighbors whispered, but we navigated unhurried, our rhythm a private tide. One equinox eve, as harvest moon silvered the inlet, we stood arm in arm on my widow's walk, his chin grazing my temple. "Never thought ordinary could feel this infinite," he murmured, the words a vow etched in salt air. I tilted to meet his gaze, heart full as the sea. "It's not ordinary anymore. It's ours." And in that the circle completed, not with fanfare, but the profound hush of belonging rediscovered. Life's surprises, they don't demand applause. They simply arrive, reshaping the horizon one shared breath at a time. So here's to the unassuming wonders, the ones that remind us. No chapter's truly closed while wonder walks beside you.